Hello, and welcome again to Creative Connections. And my guest today is Kristen Petrik. You are an acrylic artist,
yes.
And you're go under the, I guess, the business name Poor Girl, P-O-U-R.
Poor Girl, yeah.
Being a fan of wordplay, I really appreciate that.
Me as well.
So how did you get into doing art in general?
Oh, art in general, I think, is something that you're born with.
Okay.
You know, I think especially if you have great art teachers in school who kind of guide you and appreciate what your style is and help you move forward. I had art teachers who recognized something and would give me extra materials to work with on my own time.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And that really inspires you to want to create something. And plus, my dad was an excellent artist as well. I've got a sister who does amazing work as well.
Okay, so and not only is a talent in the family, but it sounds like the encouragement of the talent is in the family.
Yes. That was there.
So often you talk to people and they feel like they were discouraged from doing art.
Well, I think more so all the time, especially because schools are cutting their budgets, and art is one of those things that really gets cut out first. And I really don't think that they understand the importance of art. And it can bring people together, and it can make people feel so many different emotions.
Right.
That how can you not love it? Right?
Absolutely. You know, and as we get into looking at some of your work, you know, we'll talk even more about that. Now, what you're doing right now is acrylic pour.
Yes.
What were you doing prior to that, and what made you decide to concentrate on this?
The effects of life and being a mom and a wife and working pulled me completely away from doing anything for so many years. And I was working in an office, and I was just finding each year feeling a little less happy. You know, and I made a complete change in my life and quit my job and stayed at home. And we school at home as well, so that's wonderful because my daughter is even more artistic than I am. She's has such an amazing talent, and it just brings me so much joy. But it gave me that time to find what it was that was going to make me happy. you know, one of my problems, I think, is that I have that creative side, but I have that organizational side as well, and that inhibits creativity.
Okay, yeah.
It does, because I like things neat and orderly, and the process itself with acrylic pour painting really allows you to throw that right out the window.
Okay.
It really does, because it's so free-flowing, and it gives you so much room to create. You're not thinking about, I'm drawing a face and the eyes go here and the nose goes there and there needs to be symmetry, or trees look like this and houses look like that. With the acrylic pour painting, it let me just breathe out.
Okay.
And create and enjoy.
Can you explain a little bit? I love looking at acrylic pour, but can you explain the process? And I know it would be easier to demonstrate.
Sure. Well, actually, yeah, demonstrating would be a little complicated as well. I know there are probably quote-unquote artists out there who look at acrylic pour painting and they don't think it's an art. I mean, it's been said. Yeah. Well, it's been said. Let's just put it out there. And there's so much more thought that goes into it than people realize. Preparing the paints, first of all. You have to add a paint medium, a pouring medium into your paints. And then you have to make sure that it gets down to the correct consistency, what you hear a lot of pour painters call the warm honey consistency. So when you dip your, say like a popsicle stick, you know, for stirring, and when you let it drip off, it should drizzle off like warm honey, is what they say. So it can't be too thick, it can't be too thin, or you're not going to get the right results.
It's beginning to sound like Goldilocks.
Exactly. It's not too hot and not too cold. It is just right. It's not too thick. And then different techniques. You might want a little bit thicker for something and a little bit thinner for something else. And then you want to add some silicone or dimethicone into some of your paints in order to get the reaction.
Okay.
That creates these
So why don't we show people
cells.
what we're talking about with an acrylic pour. So you've got here a coaster. Okay.
We'll look at
that. The picture here that you're looking at is one of my favorites. Well, I actually want to come back to that in a little bit, because that, I think, is a much more advanced technique.
That has a couple extra steps in it. That doing
So,
something
this
like a
coaster
tile.
Here, yeah, this little tile. Let me see if I can hold it up
hold
here.
it up a little.
And if we can get a close-up of it.
Or not.
Or not. Okay, so yeah, here we go.
So what you're going to see in this is your typical flip cup. That's pretty much, if you're going to start pour painting, you're going to start doing flip cups.
Okay.
So it's just flipping the cup of paint upside down onto your surface and letting it pool out. And the silicone and the different weights of the paint are why you get those fun little cells, we call those, like bubbly looking things.
Yeah. So it's the different weights of the paint.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So a heavier paint is going to fall through the lighter paints, and then you're going to get that depth and dimension.
Yeah. As an aging hippie, you know, I think I'm drawn to acrylic pour because it reminds me a little bit of tie-dye, but definitely of the old psychedelic light shows.
Yes.
Where they had the liquid medium that they were showing.
Yeah.
So it really kind of takes me back to my blurry days.
It almost looks like the lava lamp with the bubbles kind of floating through.
Yeah. So there are other types of pours as well.
And then something like this is what you would call a tree ring pour.
All right.
So with that, you need to make sure you're layering your paints very carefully in the cup.
Okay.
So that your paints aren't already mixing together.
All right.
And then you're going to just pour it out in a little circular motion.
Okay.
And, keeping your hand in one spot. And then when you tilt afterwards, it'll stretch out those lines, and you will still get little tiny cells. So if you don't use any silicone, you're going to get a much clearer rings.
Okay.
And then if you have some silicone in there, you're going to get some cells in addition to the rings.
All right.
So if you like it, do it, right?
Yeah.
That's the freedom of it.
It's interesting to see just kind of the difference between the two different types here, and they are very different, and it's all a matter of technique. So
absolutely,
they're those people who maybe say it's not art don't recognize the technique that goes into doing it.
Exactly. They haven't tried it yet.
I imagine there's a certain randomness to the process, but also some control.
Yes, well, you can control the colors you use. You can control the thickness or thinness of your paint. You can control whether you're using silicone or not. But when it comes right down to it, it's that excitement of not knowing exactly what that end product is going to be that makes it even more fun to do.
Right.
Because you can try not to mix some colors in your cup. You put blue and white and yellow in a cup, you're not going to get blue, white, and yellow rings only. You're going to get some green in there,
okay,
and you're going to get some beautiful shades of blues, add some blacks in there, and you can just have fun with it. That's what I would suggest to anybody who wants to try pour painting. Is have fun.
Yeah. Now, I see a lot of people work on tiles. But that's not the only thing you can work on. And we do have this beautiful canvas or paper. Which is it?
That would be a canvas board.
Okay.
A little bit more difficult to work with canvas boards because when you pour paint, a lot of paint is going on your canvas.
Right.
So that's a lot of wetness, and the canvas boards do tend to warp a little bit, but that's why they work well in frames. Because you end up flattening them back out again if they do warp a little.
Yeah.
And that one always reminded me of the kind of the Southwest, kind of those.
It's sort of a Southwestern colors. And they're I've seen pictures of like this canyon where the rocks have this sort of ripple effect, and it does remind me of that.
Like when you're down inside and the sun's shining through. That's what that one reminds me of. Didn't know that's what I was going to get when I put the paint on the canvas.
Well, there you go.
It's just like, this is great.
Now, another thing that you brought with you is a clock.
Yes.
And the clock is fascinating because the clock is made on an old LP.
It is.
For those of you watching who are maybe 20 or so, there were once these things called albums, and there are a lot of them around, and so a lot of them are maybe not playable at this point. Is good an album as it might be, it's scratched and it won't play.
Exactly.
So what better medium to work with?
It's a fantastic medium to work on.
And this is a working clock, which is really neat. And you've got the little buttons for 12, 3, 6, and 9. So where did this idea come from?
Oh, you have no idea how many YouTube channels that I watch. There are so many YouTubers out there that do pour painting. And I love them because they not only are producing all the beautiful works that they're producing, that they're recording and they're teaching and they're editing and they're putting it on YouTube for other people to learn. And that was what I did. I watched just hundreds of hours probably I've watched in the last, I've been doing this for about a year and a half now.
Okay.
And so I've had to watch, and you find ones that you like the way they do it. And this is yet another technique.
Sure.
You know, this is a technique where you don't use a cup at all. You don't pour it out of a cup. You layer, you just add your paints onto your canvas, and then you put whatever your drag color on the top. So these are also done the same way. And then you can use several different mediums, I guess, to drag the paint. Very lightly dampened paper towel is my choice. That's what I use usually. And
is there a particular brand that's better?
I will say you will find the majority of people are probably out there using Liquitex paints.
Okay.
If you can put the money into buying the Liquitex paints, by all means, go for it. Okay. There are plenty of other artist quality acrylics out there. You can go to Walmart and you can buy Walmart acrylics. You might not get quite the wow factor, but you can mix. Okay. You know, there's probably some artists that are going, no, use one brand, and stay with it. But it depends just how serious you are, you know.
Sure.
And if you want to do this for fun, don't start buying the expensive paints right off.
Right.
You want to practice for a while.
Okay. When did this start out as a fun project that sort of became more a business?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I was looking for a way, I was looking for something else that was similar, that one of my older daughters was doing, and I was wanting to fix something that she had given me, that's something, I forget what happened to it, and I was like, okay, I need to match it up. So I was looking how to do it, and then, you know, the wonders of YouTube, as they say.
It's going down the rabbit hole.
Exactly. You may also be interested in this.
Right.
So then I watched, and I was like, I would be interested in this, and then I tried with just the materials I had in the house at the time, just to kind of see what results I would get with what I had.
Right.
Because dimethicone is in some hair products and some other products that you might already have in your house. If you don't have silicone in your house, you can use that. So you can add Elmer's glue all.
Wow.
You can mix that into your paints. But really, until you get a pouring medium to add to your paint, you're not really going to get the results you want.
Right.
And the cheapest, most commonly used, is go to Home Depot and get Floetrol.
Okay.
Floetrol, it's a paint additive that painters who are painting your wall will add into their paints. It extends the work time.
Okay.
And that's what really makes that the product you must add into your paints.
So now I would like to talk about the painting that's over here on the easel, and we were looking at it earlier. This is kind of beyond any acrylic pour that I've seen. So how did you make this happen?
Well, this one, obviously, I did have to go into this one with a little bit more intention than I did with some of the others, because I knew that I wanted it to look like a sunset, and I wanted to have darks, you know, the dark sky up in the top. So I prepared my paints the same way that I normally would, but I had to use 3 different cups with a different layering of colors in each cup, and then dragged those colors across. So another technique is ribbon pour. So that would probably be most similar to a ribbon pour, because you're not just dumping it out and then letting it create something. You're dragging it, you're dumping it across. You're pouring across your canvas. So you get those lines that you would normally get in a sunset. Sunset.
Now, just below the yellow, there's that strip of blue.
Yes.
Is that pour? Or
that is also pour.
Okay.
That is also pour. Sometimes you get really lucky. You go for something like this, and it might not happen. And it ended up looking like a big wave coming in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or maybe it looks like mountains in the distance. Whatever, however you want to see it is fabulous.
You know, and I think that's the thing that really got me about this, is that it's almost like a Rorschach test.
Yes. What do you see? Exactly.
You see, almost what you want to see. And, I look at it at times and it's waves, and I look at it again and it's mountains.
Yes.
And at the bottom, you've added something to it, didn't you?
I did. My first attempt at the bottom was brown sand. It was different shades of brown, and I finished it and I was like, just not feeling it. It's not right. I'm not feeling it. And I had some like craft sand, like sand that you would layer in a jar or something like that, nice fine sand with some colors in it, and I added more paint into the sand to make the color I wanted, and I added some glue.
Okay.
And I just put it in, just dabbed different colors of the colored sand across it and spread it out. And because it has the glue in it, it's really going to adhere. So it has that nice little texture and adds a little bit more depth.
Right. And then the little touch that probably is hard to see on TV, but there are like three little birds right there, which I'm assuming were not poured.
Nope, definitely not poured. Those were added in. Yes, because again, I looked at it over a couple of days after it had dried, and I was just like, it needs something else. It needs something else. And I said, it needs birds. That's what it is.
And okay. Oh, there we got them. Yeah.
Nice job.
It just makes the painting, and it tells you, okay, this is what this is. This is sky, because there's the birds, and it gives you something to kind of play on, and then move from there. I just think it's an amazing piece of work.
Thank you very much.
So, if people are interested in the work you do, how do they find it? How do they buy from you?
Well, right now, probably the best thing to do is head on out to Charlton and stop in at the Bittersweet Country Gift Shop at 4 Dresser Hill Road at the Charlton Arts and Activity Center. Have a lot of my pieces on display there. And hopefully one of these days I'll have the time to get my very own Poor Girl Facebook page up. That would be lovely.
Yeah, it's a problem that sometimes you have to decide whether you want to have time for art or time for promoting your art.
Exactly.
And it's almost a shame that as artists we have to choose which we're going to focus on.
Yes.
But I think I'm personally very happy that you've decided to focus on the art, because
Thank you.
This is really wonderful stuff. And you do other pieces as well. You've got the canvases, but you've also got refrigerator magnets.
Yes. Would you like to see some of the magnets?
Yeah.
So there's, I don't know what's easiest to see.
Yeah.
So you can pour your paints onto like freezer paper, something like that, something that has like a wax coating.
Okay.
And once the paint dries, it will peel off. the wax paper doesn't work. For some reason, doesn't work that well, but a heavier like freezer paper, or if you have some kind of really thick paper with a coating, it'll peel off. And so,
Boy, and those are powerful
these
magnets.
are powerful magnets. I get the good magnets.
Getting it off the back of the little tin here was quite a job. So, you know, these would dress up your refrigerator.
They certainly
would. And I
would.
guarantee you, whatever you put up there with this is going to stay.
Yeah.
So then these are also available at
Also
Bittersweet.
available, yes.
And you have
And I'm wearing
pendant.
a pendant that I made as well, using the same, actually a slightly different technique that I decided to try, that I saw a YouTuber doing, where instead of making and those are called skins, when you pour on paper and peel it up, it's called a paint skin. So then you can just cut out all the areas you want.
All right.
With this one, what I did was used a little piece of blue tack on the end of a popsicle stick, and then when I had some wet paint that I really liked what was there, I had it attached to the cabochon and just dipped the cabochon right into the paint. So there's a couple different techniques that work for you. You may not like doing it that way. This is my favorite way, making the skins.
Okay, yeah. So what's next for Poor Girl?
What's next for Poor Girl? Continuing to make more, and maybe finding that little bit of time to promote.
Okay, yeah.
I know that click to buy is much easier to do than drive down to a store to buy.
Well, it really is. You know, we have become an online society.
Absolutely.
For better or for worse.
I do it a lot.
I do too. So, you know, I really would encourage people to go down to the Bittersweet Country Gift Shop in Charlton and look at your work, look at all the other wonderful crafts that are there.
Yes.
Full disclosure, I do have a couple things there myself, but there's so many good things to see there.
There are, and more all the time.
Yeah.
It's always changing.
And they're open on Saturdays and Sundays from noon to 4.
Noon to 4, yes. Yep.
So, Kristen, thank you so much for coming in.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
We will definitely have you back on soon.
Great.
And I want to thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you again next time on Creative Connections.